everyone, Alpha Soul here, and welcome to another video. Today's video, we're going to go ahead and talk about the statement, or specifically the Ashes of Creation slogan, "Make MMOs Great Again," and we're going to dive into it, and I'm going to go ahead and give my opinion on what I hope this statement actually means. So this was actually started from the Ashes podcast that the Dungeon Crawler Network hosts every 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursday on the Twitch channel. Agelos, who is the hoster, and Stormslord, Crowjack, and I, we get together and we talk about certain things, and this was one of the things that actually came up and we discussed within it. So I wanted to actually just go ahead and do more deeply of a dive and just talk about what I think, my opinion is on that. So just to actually begin, the statement "Make MMO Great Again" was actually derived from Donald Trump's campaign slogan, Make America Great Again. And I have to say, it accomplished a goal. And the goal was, when people heard Donald Trump's campaign statement, they came up with an image of what they thought Make America Great meant to them. Now, just like that, with Ashes of Creation, the same thing is happening with the statement "Make MMO Great Again." The statement conjures a whole bunch of different thoughts and feelings depending on who hears it and what their interpretation is. Because for a lot of MMO players, the thing that they really harken back to is their first love, or the first MMO that really gripped them, which they have such a fond memory of. And the statement "Make MMOs Great Again" is really grasping at that feeling, at that thought, and really having people run away with their imagination of what they think it means when Ashes of Creation says that it's going to be the next best MMO. Now, or specifically, make MMOs great again. Now, Ashes of Creation, clearly, Steven and the Intrepid crew have, clarified and brought out, some, details, of course, about Ashes of Creation as it goes on, but the statement lives on. And even if you take a glance at the forums, which are not currently up, or, the Discord, you see similar arguments pop up from this sheer fact. Everyone has a different opinion of what they think the game will be based on the description, and they're hoping that it fits their mold of what they believe, makes an MMO great again. Now, one last thing before we get into it, and just one last thing of note, I'm a dinosaur as far as the MMO kind of genre goes. I've been around for a long time. I've been playing MMOs for well over 20 years, and I may reference a couple games that, people may not actually be familiar with. So if you have any questions on these games or how they worked or anything like that, feel free to, send me a message or leave me a comment, and I'll be happy to answer them and give you guys a little bit more info on that. All right, so with that, let's just go ahead and dive into the first point that I want to go ahead and bring it back. So the first point that I want to touch on that I hope MMOs become great again is to bring back the MM back in MMO, or the MM back in MMORPG. Literally what I mean by that is the massive multiplayer aspect of MMOs. A lot of AAA and a lot of games now from the MMO are coming out with this MMO light type of a thing, which is essentially kind of, small instances where you can group up with other players, or instances that aren't necessarily, MMO in like, so that there's no real mass scale battle or things of that nature, and party sizes are, roughly 4 people and things of that nature. What I'm hoping Ashes of Creation does, and it's one of the first things that Ashes of Creation actually caught my eye from what Steven had mentioned, and that's the party size, by default. The smallest party size is 8 people. 8 people is definitely a step up and in the right direction for, bringing back the massive in massive multiplayer. And, having 8 people, brings back more of a social aspect into the MMOs. I remember EverQuest specifically had 6 people, and a lot of people, at the time considered that, to be a good amount or a lot. Some people even wanted it to be more than that. I remember, kind of grouping up, and there was a big social aspect that came about. You were just grouped with more players. You had to interact with more players, not strictly because of the size of the party, but it does take a step in the right direction for that. Now, one of the things that I hope that they balance and they figure out is one of the reasons that companies move towards, smaller party sizes, especially when it comes to, dungeons of the like and things of that nature, is it's harder to balance content against those things, especially when you have things like, I'll give you an example. In EverQuest, there was a class called the Enchanter, which was essentially a crowd controller. And in order to get past a lot of content, you needed that crowd controller. And if you didn't have that crowd controller, well, the other, 5 people were SOL and could not continue on without it. So I hope they come up with some method and that they balance it enough so that we don't kind of run into those scenarios. The second bit, or the second portion that I hope, is in the Make MMO Great part, is the meaningful PvP. Now, I am a heavy PvPer. I've always been a heavy player who loves to fight against other players, and Ultima Online, Asheron's Call, and Shadowbane were really the main games that I was just so invested into PvP, Guild Warfare, and the such. And I really hope, one of the lessons from Ultima Online that we realized was that you really couldn't, take over and control territory. It got a little better in Asheron's Call, where, you would have, villages and areas. Same thing, with MMO, but, with UO, but Shadowbane was really one of the first MMOs outside of, some of the popular ones like DAOC, where you could truly control and make a world, within your system and control that world. The problem that, came about with Shadowbane eventually was there really wasn't enough room for losers, if you will, within the game. So after you got conquered, there really wasn't much reason to stick around in the game, and you started seeing people kind of fall by the wayside. Now, obviously, there are other reasons why Shadowbane failed overall, but that was a big reason. I remember playing and seeing people get driven from servers just because it was a cutthroat world, and so I hope that the Intrepid crew can get the balance, of takeover, of conquest proper, so that, it's still something thrilling even for people who lose. The third thing is it being a player-driven world. I'm really hoping that the player-driven aspect is hammered home. Ultima Online and EVE Online are really two games that really hammer this point home, and the politics, the interpolitics between, guilds, corporations of the such, is really what I find so exciting in games. And at the end of the day, that's the real reason that keeps me coming back to play games overall, and that's what's kept me, coming back sticky overall. In fact, the only game that I would say that I have played a long time that really didn't have that aspect too much was World of Warcraft. But World of Warcraft had such an excellent PvE aspect to that it was just, easier to overlook, if you will. Fourth, what I'm looking, kind of based off of what I just talked about, is a solid PvE experience. World of Warcraft is, to me, the best example of this. I mean, it's still around today for a good reason. The PvE aspect, they have done really, really well. Now, there are a lot of aspects that I hope that they, don't include within Ashes of Creation that will take away from the overall, gist, which is like instant dungeon queues or instant teleportation, things of that nature, which I don't think that they're putting in. But I really do hope that the PvE experience is really something, award-winning. It's something that we come back to. It's something that we look forward to. And, raiding, dungeons, open world PvE, I'm really hoping it's solid. The next thing is a complex skill system. I'm looking for a complex skill system with a lot of variety, a lot of individual counters. I'm not saying that each class has to be able to counter another class, but there should be a way to counter and come up with a strategy to fight against, different aspects, different people, different classes, different builds. I really like that, theory crafting in my head to go about and create builds and allow me to create, creative builds and make it so most skills, if not all skills, are viable. It always bugged me when you would come across skills in games that were, that nobody ever took, never bothered with them because there really was no practical use to them. I really hope that they avoid this and, end up balancing it, in fact. And the final bit is really around excitement. At the end of the day, when I think of make MMOs great again, what I really want is to come home and just really want to log in because I want to play. I don't want to have to come home and, think I've got to do daily, so I want to log in. No, I don't want that to be a reason that I actually come and want to play the game. I want to be able to play the game because of the community. I want to be able to play the game, because I'm having fun, because I'm having, such a great time, and, spending my free time enjoying this game, helping build, and explore and create things of that nature. That's what I really want and experience. So at the end of the day, what does the statement, make MMOs great again, what does it mean to you? Everyone has their different interpretation of what that means. I'm curious of what it means to you. Those are kind of what it means to me, and I'd love to discuss more if you're up for it. So that's pretty much it, guys. Alpha Soul out. Have a great one.